women love adventure. Okay? And so if men especially understood that, it will prevent you from proposing crazy things like, I'm in your town and there's a friend of mine who lives in the hood. So let me borrow his house for a few hours so you come over. And you see a lot of women go like, that's weird. I don't know if I want to do that. Change is good. There are only two constants in life. There's time and change. On Ask Eric, you and I try and make sense of difficult conversations around issues of everyday life. Sometimes if you know better, you simply would do better. I've thought about my life many times when I made very tremendously imbecilic mistakes. And I've often yearned that if somebody would have just been there to hold my hand and say, you know what, don't make a permanent decision during this temporary problem, then my life would have been better. I have very few regrets, but where I've made mistakes, there are mistakes that I would have circumvented. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt like that? When you're holding your baby and you're like, if I knew this, I would not be in this ditch. And that's why we do this show. Very, 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 very wonderful to have you here. Every Wednesday, we sit together and we try and make sense of this and that and the other. I love all of your feedback. Please make it as interactive as possible. There's a perspective you hold that I will never have until you speak. You see? So you can't just be looking at me like, you tell us. No, I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak at you. I love speaking with you instead. So Ask Eric is not about just me answering. It's about you and I learning together. The question today is very simple. How do men and women differ in the way they view sex? Hey, you're usually a therapist. But I'll try and answer from a personal experience. Sometimes experience is a wonderful teacher, isn't it? So from research, men are more relying. They rely more on visual cues than women. So men are lookers. They look and be like, ooh, la la. Women are not as spontaneous as men. Okay? A lot of factors have to be in the play for a woman to get there with you. Did I get that right? Ama, you're like, hey, imagine Eric, me, to be honest, Mimi, Neo Kohutia Jamaz. I'm just, I'm also a bit visually, not to say that a guy who looks good or is clean and smells nice would not appeal to you. Just that to get there, men are more visually cued and they're more spontaneous. Women, on the other hand, crave, again, according to research, a story, a plot, something that is leading to somewhere. Okay? Women love adventure. Okay? And so if men especially understood that, it will prevent you from proposing crazy things like, I'm in your town and there's a friend of mine who lives in the hood. So let me borrow his house for a few hours so you come over. And you see a lot of women go like, that's weird. I don't know if I want to do that. Okay? Because for women, things like security and comfort plays a major role before they can get down and jiggy with you. Are we tracking? Okay. That is very important to factor in. That is very, very important to factor in. A man can go up and ready in a dark alley. A woman would thinking, oh my goodness, what if something pricks my back? What if some people randomly start running by us? What if? So it helps that you factor in our safety and our comfort. And a lot of women ask questions men keep saying, why is this chick asking me if I live with someone? She's checking for security and comfort. You see, you can't be like that. Come over. I've had interesting stories. Have you heard those stories where you went to see a guy and he sort of omitted the truth about his living arrangements? And then you're chilling and you're just, getting yourself very comfortable and cozy, and you go for another help of rice and you're strutting between the kitchen and the living room, only for someone to clear their throat in the living room, in the dark. Like, and you're like, ah! The guy forgot to tell you that he lives with his dad and grandfather and there are two small brothers. And that's not his house. You see now? Then you rush to the bedroom and you're like, who is that who cleared the throat? He's like, I didn't tell you. It's my dad. Did he see you? And he's like, don't worry about it. We are fine. We are not fine. I want to leave this space right now. So it's very important to factor that in. Men don't care for those things. They ask for things like, oh, but there's a lodging somewhere here. Nope. She's not comfortable. She's not comfortable. You go to the lodging and read a magazine. The quality of a woman's relationship and their possibility to want to get down with you is hinged mostly on the quality of the relationship with the said person. So, for instance, let's say you are rude. She said, hey, it's raining. Would you care to pass by and pick me up? And you're like, aye, is everybody being picked up from the office? You make your way, bana. Allah. And then you switch off your phone. And then the previous day she said, hey, please just take the trash can out. And you're like, you have hands. I can't pay the electricity. I pay bill, I pay rent, I do your hair. Then I take the trash. You take the trash. Allah. And then at night, you're like, baby. You will baby yourself to sleep. Okay? So the quality of the relationship between her and her partner determines so much about her sexual attraction. Okay, if I'm right, say there. So it's often joked that if you want to squeeze her at 11, start at 7. Again, women are very relational. Emotional connection is something that they value. How are you making me feel? How do I feel? How do you speak to me? How do you address me? You met me with your friend the other day and you just spoke throughout. You didn't even acknowledge my presence there. And now at night you're like, Rhoda. You will be very, very sorry. Okay? So I think number one is understanding what ticks both the partners. Men are visually cued. Women need a connection. And number two, the quality of the relationship. How are you relating? Are you doing the things she's asked you? Are you kind? Are you loving? Are you present? Yeah. So don't expect that what you did in the morning will not come back and haunt you at 11 p.m. It will definitely show up. Okay? A friend of mine was telling me a very interesting story once, how you'd go and maybe you've had a tough week and then you take this woman out and you're out on the weekend and she's fine, and then all of a sudden things are just good. She's happy. She's been drinking shots. She's happy. Then all of a sudden she switches. And then I would try and ask him what had happened before she switched. He's like, no, I just went to the loo. Okay. And then I got a call and then I delayed a bit. And then now when I was coming back, she met me in the corridor talking on the phone. So I tried to explain that, I was just talking to my buds. And can you imagine everything went south out of that? Of course. Of course it will go south. So emotional connection is very important for women. They're not switches, as you've heard. As I had some motivational speakers speak once, and they said, women are like a diesel engine. You have to rev them and rev them and rev them. And then men are the opposite. A man instantly has a deficit of 8 minutes. Can you imagine? You see why you're suffering? Muturi, you have a deficit of 8 minutes. So how do you make up for the 8 minutes? That is the question. And so a lot of women will say things like, please take time, relax, take it easy. And you think, no, me, I just want to arrive. Me, I like arriving. But she's helping you. She's trying to communicate that if you should arrive the way you've been arriving, somebody is going to feel left out. There's a wonderful idea. I can't remember where I read the book, but the author said something so profound. He says, when only one partner has had good sex, the sex is bad. So sex is good when both partners have achieved satisfaction, and whatever that satisfaction is for each of you. And also it brings the aspect of communication. From this side of the world, for some reason, people still frown about the conversation around sex. Sex still is a taboo subject. And what's shocking many times for me is it's even a taboo subject amongst two people who are having it, which is very interesting to me. Can you imagine somebody serving you matumbo and you don't eat that stuff? But because you can't bring it up, you're just chewing it. and hoping that they walk out of the room so you spit it out. So I honestly think that we can all be better for having conversation around sex. What does intimacy mean to you? How do you feel judged? What are some of the things that people have said in your past relationships that made you feel less than ideal? Okay. What are your problem areas? Where are your erroneous zones? Where should we concentrate on? Where shouldn't we go? How do I make up for these 8 minutes? Are you an outer or an inner? What are we doing here? Can you direct me? The last time I was in the outer region and I thought I was in the inner region, and it was very embarrassing. Okay? I come short in length, breadth, and width. What can we do with my very miniature gadget? You know, those sort of things. And if you need professional help, of course, I'm not trained for that. But I think there's nothing that two people cannot solve if they will not speak to one another. So that you can achieve satisfaction, because we're not here for too long. If you're unhappy and if you're turning the other cheek and facing away and this other person is not going to broach the subject, who are we fooling? Who does that serve? Who does it serve that you are unhappy and quiet? It doesn't serve anybody. So I would say very strongly, again, understand your partner. There is the perception, again, from ego that men have. Just because you used to be with Salome and she told you made her so happy, and you would go on and on and on with Salome, it's possible that Doreen, who you are now with, doesn't feel the same way, because Doreen is not Salome. And the same applies to whichever partner you're with before this one. So I think just like a new role in a new company, it's the fittest if you're going to practice accounting the way you are practicing it in the other company. It might get you fired. Okay? So the way you'd sit with your supervisor during appraisals, and then they'll tell you, okay, this company, we want this. In this company, we prefer that. In this company, this is your JD, and this is your KPI. Now, you cannot say, but in that company, my KPI was not this high. Yeah, well, if you want to keep this job, you have to adjust. So what gives? Open conversations. And I think very strongly, this is my own personal opinion, if as a man you don't feel ready to talk about things that are vulnerable around your bedroom department, then there's no point of you being in a relationship. Okay? It's defeatist, because we are the only animals with the ability to communicate. If something happened to you as a child, if a comment have made you feel some type of way, if you feel little about yourself around issues of sex, then wait it out. Or better, go and see a therapist. And then finally, I think women take a less direct approach route to sexual satisfaction. For instance, I've read from research, some women say that desire originates much more between their ears. The sapiosexuals, they want to be seduced with words. You know those people who flirt, like, guess it's raining and I'm in a trench coat with nothing at all inside. Where are you? So you can't be saying, me, I'm in the house chilling. I'm just taking tea here. Why are you doing in the rain with the trench coat outside? So you see, you've killed the plot. So you have to continue with that journey of thinking. So she feels excited. Some women want to talk first, connect first, and then have sex later. But other women prefer the straightforward approach. Again, it goes without saying, broach the subject through your mouth words. Communicate. And also be very careful of importing what you've seen online, or again, God forbid, on pornography or on a blue magazine to your partner. Because this is not that. Okay?